Well, hello there. We are going to talk about industry again today. You know that is a pretty passionate topic for me and really important. Um, thank you guys all for being here. And as I look out into the audience, I think the difference for me from yesterday to today is I see friends. I see folks that I've had a chance to connect with, have real conversations, really agitate on the business, and understand how we can be of greater benefit to you and make sure that the investments are there. So, no worries. Without further ado, I'm joined by some really wonderful panelists that are here from our industries teams. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and have you each introduce yourselves. Um, I'm going to actually ask if you can flip to where your pictures are. So, Ryan, can I get you to go over
Oh
to the
yeah.
far side and then Rochelle in the middle?
Sure.
And then Fabrizio, why don't we start with you? Just get a little bit of background and why they care about what you and why you care about these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for being here. My name is Fabrizio Cuneo. I sit on our sales enablement and operations team, and I focus on manufacturing, go-to-market. So my goal is really to help our partners and our field with relevant industry narratives for our manufacturing customers, so that we can fulfill their needs and at the same time bring revenue to our partners and to Microsoft.
Awesome,
Hi,
cool.
Rochelle.
Hey everyone, my name is Rochelle Fleming. I'm on the industry partner marketing team, and I'm focused on driving our manufacturing narrative through joint campaigns. So campaigns with partners like yourself, highlighting the value that you bring to our customers across SMB, SMC, and enterprise, and excited to be here.
And hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Blakely. I, too, am on the go-to-market team specific to industry for the Americas. And I look after the financial services vertical specifically. But I think, as Rochelle mentioned, and even Fabrizio, we're representing industry all up. And ultimately, our goal as an organization, as a team, is to work with our partner ecosystem at scale to not only help build pipeline, but win, be relevant in the marketplace, and really understand what Microsoft's doing and how we can help accelerate your business goals specific to industry.
Great. So what you're going to hear now is we've been talking a lot about industry. Now we're going to get very practical, right? I think everyone wants to leave here feeling like their backpack is filled with practical things to go start doing. I'm not even going to say Monday, but maybe tomorrow, right? So we're going to get down to some really practical everyday experiences and use cases. So I'm going to ask all of you, like maybe you could highlight what you're seeing as some of those best practices that you're seeing from partners today, all from a different lens a little bit, but and bring it home so folks know what to put in their backpack and then what to go do, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll start. I think one of the first things to do when you're thinking about industry, and frankly, partner marketing all up, is to really understand what go-to-market means to you. It's a very well-used term today. We've probably heard it, multiple dozens of times. But what does it mean in your organization? And are your teams that represent a component of go-to-market connected? Do you have the same shared goals? So we at Microsoft, we think about go-to-market in kind of three very specific things: sales enablement, so sellers understanding what you're doing, the value prop in the story. To customer marketing, is that story then resonating to a customer around a use case? And then obviously a sales component. How is that translating to the business needs that a customer specifically may have? And you guys are in a really unique space in the SMB side and on the managed side to working with your contacts, with your decision makers. They may be business, they may be IT, they may be both. And so kind of navigating between those personas, the business value that they're trying to accomplish, and then mapping that back to technology and specifically industry use case, can be a lot. We'll talk about a couple of examples here today as we go through. I think we've already mentioned a couple of times sort of the 7 main industries that we cover, but I want to be clear that We care about all industries. We're focused on all industries. We have deep expertise in many of them. We're building capacity around all of them. And all the stories and lessons that I think we'll share today will be relevant to to all industries as far as, general business practice, general engagement, general, sort of tools and ways in which we can engage. So, I think that's a good baseline. And then maybe, I don't know, Rochelle, do you want to go a little bit deeper on how that comes to life?
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Thank you. So I think from a go-to-market, one area of just how to get started is really honing in on knowing your customer. And that probably seems like an obvious one, but you're prepping for that one-on-one that you have with a customer, you have a large event. And so how do you take the steps to figure out how you're going to really have a relevant conversation with that customer? And the great news is that there are industry sales kits, like Ryan mentioned, the 7 prioritized industries that really line up and tell our story to specific roles within those organizations. And I know some of you raised your hand if you already have an industry strategy within your organization. So you may be very well versed and you show up to manufacturing customers and healthcare, and you've been doing this for years. So maybe it's just leveraging those industry sales kits for more of a refresh. And there might be folks in your org that are brand new of like, where do I even start? And the industry sales kits are designed for that, whether it's a starting point or whether you're refreshing your narrative. And what's great about this is if you're, let's say, going into a manufacturing conversation and you're meeting with the VP of R&D, what do they care about? They're caring about their innovation costs. If you're meeting with a healthcare organization, the compliance person, they might be thinking about how am I going to keep all this sensitive information confidential? And so what's so great about it is it gives you those sound bites of like, what are the conversation starters? What are the questions I can be asking those particular roles? And so there's a sales guidance version of it that you can just use internally of like getting your sales team, your biz dev team prepped for those conversations. And what's so great is they then take that information and put it into a customer-facing deck that you can use as a backdrop when you're having those meetings or a large event. And then also referencing specific case studies for that particular industry. So there's been a lot of thoughtfulness with the team to put those stories and narratives together across the 7 prioritized industries. So, sorry about that. Leverage it, like use that as a starting point. It'll save you, ideally, it saves you some time. So I think with the balance of what you've already been doing and the knowledge you have in certain areas, maybe you can, add a story or add a scenario as you're going in and having those conversations. We've seen success with these across multiple target audiences, meaning different segments from SMB, SMC, and enterprise. So leverage, we'd love you to take a look at those if you haven't already. Fabrizio is very familiar with them. So maybe you can talk specifically about some of the details around them and some examples.
Absolutely. I'm going to share an example of one of my personal favorite sales kits for manufacturing, which is the Cloud Scale Analytics kit. Every industry has different scale kits, so I'm sharing one example, right? And for the Cloud Scale Analytics kit in manufacturing, on the pitch deck that you can leverage, we talk about unify the manufacturing data state. That's our positioning. And this really is tailored to speaking to COOs or VPs of manufacturing or plant managers. So really focus on the operations and factory room of the house. And the value prop that we shared throughout the presentation is really to optimize operations across the value chain through data visibility. And we walk on this pitch deck that you can use through different scenarios. That one, for example, is when, for example, a production machine goes down in a factory. Imagine a COO after this happens, not only is able to identify immediately the production units that are going to be impacted, but also actually the customer orders that are going to be delayed because of this machine that is down. So we are enabling the COO to take proactive actions before the delay happens by just putting together data from the production machines with data from the ERP and the customer orders and enabling this decision maker to take actions. And we obviously talk about some of the products we offer, like Fabric, Microsoft Fabric, to support this use case. But in general, the message here is these are great specific assets focused on roles, decision makers across different industries that you can leverage to start your sales conversations with the customers.
I love that. What you're hearing here is why you care, what we have, and then how to go about doing it. And so if you just think about that framework, it's really important. The other thing that I would also offer is all of you guys are also experts. This is just what we're setting up and we're providing out to all of you. Be part of the solution, like that ideation that we can have together. If you see additional scenarios, or even if you see something that's missing, we're really open to that. Like Rochelle, you would love feedback. Like, hey, if there's a gap there, we're happy to go drive against that. So don't feel like what we provide is it. It's what we've come up with to provide, and then together we're all agitating on doing the best for the market. It goes kind of back to what we were talking about yesterday about community, and really what I see a really strong partnership looking like. So with that, so one of the things that I often talk about as well with partners is like, how do you differentiate yourself? Right? How do you do things a little bit differently? Any recommendations that you might have on how partners can position themselves to the best in class? So Rochelle, let's start with you.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you. So I think the big piece around this is the storytelling. And like you mentioned, you are all experts. I mean, you know your customers well, you know your story. And so we want to try to help move that along as far as how that shows up in different campaigns, and how you tell that not only internally to maybe your sales team, how you tell that to customers, and how you're telling that story to maybe it's Microsoft folks or other technology partners that you're working with. So right before in the session that Heather was leading, she mentioned the co-branding. And so the storytelling that you can move on is how do you co-brand your story along with how you're a Microsoft partner. So these two brands are showing up together. And so what's great about these co-branded materials is it kind of pulls you through the process of like, what type of information should I be having my sales team have on a one-pager so that when they're talking to a customer, your whole sales team is kind of hitting those same or similar points. And it's giving you the guidance of what is your quick pitch of your top value points? How do you handle competitive situations? What is your value? What are awards? Just it guides you through that. And also from a public or how you show up in your campaigns that are customer facing, if you're writing a case study, how do you even organize the information? It takes some of that work and already has it complete, so you don't have to spend that time. Because some folks, like in here, you're being asked to do marketing, and maybe that's not what you're usually used to from a day to day. So the customer-facing piece is great because it allows you and helps you guide through customer case studies. It could be social copy, newsletters, and you're then able to put that all together into campaigns. And when you're looking and trying to figure out where those campaigns could be, recommended that you look at multiple sockets. So do you do email, digital, the one-on-one meetings, the events that you have? And then as you're looking at results, see where, if, when, and where you want to change your message. Maybe, like Nina said, you add scenarios, you add different taglines, you test, you revise, and then you execute again so you can kind of keep it fresh and keep moving forward where you're seeing good traction. So co-branded assets, if you haven't already, would recommend that you take a peek, see if you can leverage, and ideally saving some time and helping you as you're trying to bring your story to life within your org or to customers and to Microsoft and other partners. And I know there's other resources that are available, so maybe you want to add a few more of what they potentially could look into.
Yeah, absolutely. There is one other resource I would highlight that you can use to position yourself strong with customers, which is the Industry Solutions Portal. This is a website open to partners where we share our vision and key narratives for for each industry, for each of the 7 prioritized industries. And we also include what are the prioritized customer scenarios that we have for each industry, and also the supporting technologies for these scenarios. So this is a great portal and website that you can use to just understand the overall vision, end-to-end vision that we have, and narratives that we have for a specific industry, and then maybe use it as an input when you develop your own marketing strategy or commercial strategy.
Great. Does everyone know where that industry portal is? No. Okay. Can you help
We will
guide
share
us? All right?
the link.
Okay. Whoop, I can't get too close to you. Okay. So we've talked a lot about tools. We've talked about some of the best practices, but let's just bare bones. Let's talk about the why. Like why does everyone in this room want to do this? Why is it so special in the SMB space?
Yeah, maybe I'll take a shot here. Selling into industry we saw the numbers earlier. The market is massive. And it really builds on what Heather was talking about, what Jose was talking about, what you heard yesterday, from Harp around not only the size of this market, right? The diversity of the marketplace, but also that while they're in SMB, we saw the segmentation from Jose earlier this morning, that medium-sized group, the fastest group, data shows, and we see it in our day-to-day, that those organizations, 25 to 300 employees, they are making decisions and operating much like their big brothers and sisters in the space. They want to understand and really understand what those industry workloads are. They have the same challenges that they're trying to solve, and they're going to be looking to you, their trusted advisor, their CIO, from a technical perspective, to help them really not only understand those, but help solve some of those problems. I think this really comes to life from some of the things that we've seen at multiple events, but specifically NRF. I'm sure you guys have all heard of NRF, the big retail event. Tens of thousands of people attend NRF, and a significant portion of those attendees are small retailers. They are one-person shops. They're small e-commerce sites. They are, local grocery store chains that have, 1 or 2 stores. They do not have the capital to go hire more people, to build new facilities, to get new leases, to stock inventory with different things. They need that differentiation to compete again with their larger competitors. And they're looking towards technology around these narratives that we've talked about around the AI use cases, so they can use something that they can afford, right? And something that they can deploy, maybe in slightly different ways than typical, but so they can solve some of these business problems, so they can look and feel maybe bigger, more powerful, more robust than they actually may be, and become more competitive. And our partner ecosystem helping to solve some of those problems around that. You guys are the experts. You know what those problems are, but helping them realize those through technology creates the relationship, creates the relevancy, and it really fits with what our shared customers are really looking to achieve from our relationship together, both us with you in solving some of these key challenges. So I think the opportunity is big. There's a lot out there, and the biggest, fastest growing piece of it is they need your guys' help. Now, what's interesting too is the tail, right? The smaller, the smaller and the micro side of things. They actually think a lot like the medium size and even the enterprise as well. They have those same challenges, but they may adapt that technology slightly differently, but they need to solve some of the same business challenges. So just the market in SMB is so big, specific to industry.
Rochelle, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think why GTM, why the focus is so much on industry is also because that's how individuals identify themselves as they're working within an industry. So for example, if you ask your friends and family where they work, they generally say the role or the function they're in, and then they say where, which is typically tied to an industry. So I'm a teacher at an elementary school, or I'm a traveling nurse for home health care. It's usually connected in that way. So we're trying to show up in a way from a storytelling and narrative that aligns to how they see themselves, and also is connected to their day-to-day. When they're a frontline worker and they're wondering, how do I figure out my schedule swap? We want to bring those scenarios, and that is helping us drive the stories that we have in our campaigns. And the last one, I think, is for all of us in here, partners, Microsoft, we go to market by industry because we can track the progress against the total addressable market. The 371 billion that's been referenced a couple times today, we can see what's the progress towards that number, and we can also get super specific on if we're looking at what are the retailers in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area with this size that we already have as accounts, and what are kind of the new logos we want to go after. So it's a way for us to actually track and see where there's opportunity, where we've seen success, and it helps us with our path forward. So all of that helps us determine the why GTM at industry.
Great. So I love when the rubber meets the road, which is like the practical application. How is this actually showing up? And I think everyone else here does, right? Everything's theoretical until it's real, right? So I think we should wrap up with some real world examples. I'm going to pass it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share a real world example. We were a few months ago at the Association for Manufacturing Excellence conference in Cleveland. The audience for this conference were VPs of operations, plant managers, engineering managers, and we had the chance to speak with over 150 customers that were in the conference. 35% were SMB customers, so great representation there from the SMB market. And most of the conversations we had with the customers were around industry outcomes, like how to optimize efficiencies in the factories or increase production throughput, how to, for example, reduce the attrition of frontline workers by increasing job satisfaction. That has been a huge pain point in the manufacturing industry. And then after understanding and listening to the customers, we position our products and solutions and connected them to those needs. So I would say more than 50% of the time we were talking, we were listening to their pain points and needs, and then we tailored our message based on what they were explaining to us. So I think it was super well received by the customers. We had the most visited booth at the conference, and actually many customers came back a second time to ask more questions or to make sure we were going to follow up after the event. So it was just a great lesson that it's not really about the technology, but it's really about the people using the technology to achieve specific industry outcomes. And the last thing I'm going to share here is I think now it's the best time, we're at the best moment in time to think about people and use cases with the generative AI revolution. Even though AI has been for decades, for example, in the manufacturing industry, some years ago, just a very small niche of the workforce was able to use AI on the day-to-day, mainly people with PhD on their job title, right, doing complex machine learning models. But now today, everyone can use generative AI, right, from factory workers to warehouse assistants to procurement specialists. So now it's the time to think about use cases relevant for these personas and position these use cases in front of decision makers so that we can capture these great opportunities. So I'm just very excited to witness in the next couple of years how all of these industries will transform with generative AI.
So Ryan, why don't you wrap us up with your perspective, I think, around financial services a bit.
Yeah, indeed. So I spoke about market opportunity earlier, but let's just get real with financial services. There's 4,700 and change FDIC insured financial banks basically in the United States. When you start to break them down from B of A and Wells and Chase and Citi and everybody up top and get down into the SMB market, that SMB line starts at about 250. So there's 4,500 plus banks in the United States that are SMB. They're small. They're your regional and community banks, or community banks and small banks. That number doubles when you add credit unions. So now all of a sudden we've got 9,000, banks that are out there that are actively looking for things. And what we're seeing it in the numbers from partner pipeline and from different levels of engagement and event attendees or attendance, is that partners that are adapting these industry sales kits, they're adapting these templates, they're talking about these AI use cases, they're putting workshops together that are solving these very specific problems with your specific relationships, with your domain expertise, coupled with our broader platform and technology partnership. That is resonating with customers significantly. And even from our marketing perspective, when we're making it personal, we're actually seeing about 2x higher results from a marketing perspective. So do you want to help solve risk in your financial institution? Yeah, okay. Turning that message and making it much more personal to them is actually getting a lot more of a different result. And I just want to make it like, we've talked about all these AI use cases, but we see all these things come together. And then again, back to some of these events, the larger things, a huge moment. I want to share just one quick note. Late January, we were at an event that had about 1,000 bank CEOs, majority of which were SMB and some a little bit bigger. CEOs were coming up and saying, I'm leading an AI task force. I'm leading our technology task force on how things are going. You start to unpack that a little bit and understand what that means, and there wasn't a whole lot behind it. And at the end of sort of my couple of questions, they came back and said, help me. Now, I heard you guys say you need help too, but we can together really help these organizations, whether it's in financial services, manufacturing, retail, ProServe, legal, accounting, hospitality, all of these different industries. That's where it really comes together. So.
Terrific. Well, you guys, thank you. I think there's such an incredible opportunity, but sometimes it's hard to know how to get started. So thank you for creating some tools, resources, sharing some really great examples of how to get started, and then what it looks like in the real world. I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Great. So I know we all want to stretch our legs, and we're ready for probably a little thing. But guess what? We made an announcement this morning at 9 a.m. How many of you guys have seen it? No, right? Well, isn't it cool that we're all together? I'm going to invite Pankaj to come up and join me. He's from our worldwide GPS team and give us some insights directly on what this is. Isn't there no better time than the present? Thank you.
Thank you, Nina.
Yeah.
Thank you. You good? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Nina. And what a great segue here. I never knew that many banks and credit unions were in SMB. Hey, so quickly, I don't have any slides. You will get the slides, so don't worry about it. At the State of the Partner Ecosystem event this morning, almost an hour ago at 9 o'clock, we announced something that is super relevant to all of you here. I think you've heard enough about AI and AI transformation in the conference in these 1.5 days so far. You've heard enough about SMB and the SMB opportunity. What we put together and announced, among a whole bunch of other things, is basically we announced our SMB path to solutions designation in our Microsoft AI and Cloud Partner Program, which is MAI-CPP. And by the way, that's for Azure as well as for security. So I know a lot of you play in the security space too. And what this will allow you, in very short time that I could cover this, is to allow you the same solution partner designation that any other partner who plays in enterprise does while being focused on your SMB customers. So it's for partners like you who are not that big in size, which I know we had that bias for such a long time, and serve 80% or more of your customers are in SMB space. You could go ahead and take advantage of it. What it unlocks for you is it unlocks Microsoft incentives for you, which is now available, would be available as soon as you attain those spots, and many more benefits to come starting our next fiscal year. We are working through that right now. Now, for those of you who are familiar or not familiar, it's a point scoring system when you go through the solution partner designation. You need a 70 out of 100 points. That system remains the same. But if you are a partner who is addressing SMB customers, then the benefits that you get is to go ahead and actually, with as low as 4 unique individuals attaining the right certifications, you could attain it, while a partner who's focused on enterprise probably needs 10 or 15 individuals. So it's a much lower mark. It's the same mark, but it's lower in terms of looking at the footprint and the size of people that you have in the organization. We also would include your migration scenarios, which is basically VMs that you learn that you have for your customers in Azure right now. So that opens up a whole bunch, because I know a lot of you do the migrations first and then probably get onto the AI use cases again, as well as lower thresholds for customer ads. So a combination of all that makes it easier. That's it. And makes it easier for you to go ahead and do that. So what do we want you to do? One, you can learn about it. We will have slides in the slide deck. There is a blog post. We can share that later too as well, or you can search about it. It's by Nicole this morning. Second, we actually in Americas have a Cloud Week in April. I think it's 15th to 19th of April, but if you search Azure Cloud Week, it's free for all attendees. You can actually have your people go ahead and attend that and get certified, right? So it's a 3 or 4 day track. It's completely free. You can do it in person or you can do it on demand and basically take advantage of it and skill up. And then hopefully when we actually go live sometime in July in FY25, which is Microsoft's new fiscal year, you have the designation, you start earning the incentives, getting all the benefits from day one. So that is what it is. Again, for Azure, all solution areas, you can do it for AI, talked about it. You can do it across our app innovation, across our migration portfolio, as well as for security. So that's the exciting news. Thank you so much for your partnership. I know each one of you, there was so much excitement even in practice development and AI yesterday in the session that I took. We are here to help you. Keep the feedback coming. Please use your Microsoft PDMs or anybody to go ahead and provide feedback. This is based on your voice and the feedback that you provided that we took that call. And let's drive to a profitable partnership here that drives growth for Azure and security. Thank you.